you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, 'cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, 'cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
all in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, 'cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, 'cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. The Eye Test with Pierre McGuire and Jimmy Murphy.
The Stanley Cup winning Colorado Avalanche. And after 22 years, Raymond Moore
The sickest NHL podcast. It's gonna be sick.
What? Camera was off there, Pierre. Trying to save everyone from seeing my ugly mug there. But Pierre McGuire, Jimmy Murphy here on the Eye Test on the Sick Podcast Network as we continue our Metro Division previews. Now, we did not get to the New York Islanders yesterday, so they will be included. We'll start off with them today, and then we're going to do the Carolina Hurricanes and the Washington Capitals. Speaking of the Capitals, Pierre, watched them last night as they played the Bruins in the preseason. Okay, obviously none of these teams really have an A team going right now, so you can't take too much. You got to take everything with a grain of salt there, but we'll get to them in a bit, Pierre. Let's get right into it because we got to do a hard out at 4:50 p.m. So let's get right into the New York Islanders and another team, Pierre, where we're trying to figure out what their identity is. And I think a perfect example of why that's a question mark was last night when they, 4 goals in how many minutes? It was bad.
They gave up 4 in less than 3.5 minutes.
And this is a team, Pierre, that for the last few years has been known, maybe even more than the last few years, going back to like the bubble, has been known more for a team that can't score, but can play a tight checking, good defensive game. That's not really what you would call a good defensive game there. So when you look at this roster right now, what are you seeing from the New York Islanders?
Well, first of all, I don't even want to talk about exhibition hockey because most of the rosters that are being iced right now by these teams are not competitive NHL rosters. The games are a gear to a gear and a half short, so that's a step to a step and a half short of what an NHL game is to start the season. It's probably 2.5 to 3 steps short of what a playoff game would be. So talking about lineups and talking about teams based on preseason, that's out the window. Here's what I will say about the Islanders. Last year, they had the worst penalty kill in the National Hockey League. They were 32nd. I know Patrick Waugh spent a lot of time with his staff working on penalty killing to be ready for this season. If they're 32nd again, they won't make the playoffs. Their power play was 19th in the league. That's not good enough. It needs to be better. So the focus for that team should be working on special teams. That's number one. Number two, adding Anthony Duclair. Now, Anthony had a pretty good year last year, 22 goals between San Jose and Tampa. But if you look at most of his record, it's a roller coaster. Now, you go back 2 years when he was playing in Florida, he had 31 goals. Yeah. So, again, his record goes up and down. They got to get the Anthony Duclair that's going to be closer to 25 goals and the guy that's going to be closer to 10 goals. So that's really important for them. It's truly important. Yeah. But I think the guy, if they do well, the guy that will get the most credit and deservedly so will be Patrick Waugh. I think he's their most important person in the organization. On the ice, Pierre, you bring up Duclair there. Would you put him with Barzal? Do you think that would be a good combo to kind of get him going, jumpstart him there, or no? That depends. I mean, they would know better than I just because they're there all the time. They see what's going on in practice. Matt had a great start to the game last night against the Rangers. Matthew Barzal, he had a great start to the game. He did some really good stuff, But again, it's really unfair to gauge these teams and where they're going to be based on preseason. So that's why I give you the stats from last year and the lineup changes that might affect it. I do think, again, if Duclair goes between 25 and 30 goals, that's going to help the Islanders a lot. And how about Bo Horvat? As his career goes on, where do you see him right now? What kind of player can he still be? Still be a really important player. Face-off winner, power play point producer, penalty killer, face-off guy, especially late in games. He can do a lot. A lot. He still has game. Bo was never the fastest skater to begin with, but he was always agile enough where he could make things happen. I know that, the Islanders went all in to try to make the playoffs and bringing Bo in helped them. There's no question it helped them, but this is another year. Yeah, they've got work to do, Jimmy. They've got serious work to do. One young kid I'm looking at, Pierre, and there's not too many young guys in the forward position for the New York Islanders this year that are likely going to be in the roster. But one kid I'm looking at is Oliver Wahlstrom. And this is a guy that they've sort of been waiting for to kind of take the next step, maybe take another 2 steps. They know he's got raw skill. They know, he's got talent, but what has it been in your eyes for Wahlstrom from not being able to sort of
realize that potential a lot of people saw when he was drafted?
Barry Trotz was his first coach. Wayne Lambert was his second coach. Patrick Roy was his third coach. He's had coaching turmoil that he's had to deal with. Lots
And
of
don't
it.
forget Bridgeport too. He's up and down in Bridgeport a lot
Well,
too.
yeah, but I'm just talking about in the NHL. So
Yep.
he's had turmoil to deal with. And
Mm.
part of that's on him, part of that's on them.
Yeah.
If he's playing to his identity, he should be a gunner. He should be a guy that gets the puck and rips it on goal and makes a difference on the scoreboard. He's not going to be a guy you're going to have on the ice at the end of a game with a 1-goal lead. That's not him. But the other part of it is if you're down by a goal or two, that should be him. So he's got to figure out what he is as a player. And I think that's been the frustration for a lot of the people that have worked with him over the years with the Islanders.
What's a guy like Patrick Roy, who we know has fire in him, right? But I think has tempered that to his advantage over the years as a coach. What's a guy like that going to be for a kid like Wahlstrom? Could he be the answer, you think?
Might be. I don't think Patty's really going to do a lot of that. I think he's going to delegate a lot of it. So that'll be an interesting thing to watch how the staff comes together because it's a different staff. It's a different staff. So it'll be different. Dougie Huda's not there anymore. Dougie Huda's moved on.
Dougie Huda's a good assistant coach.
And that, but they're blaming him for the PK. Well, it's 32nd in the league. It was worse in the league. So he's moved on. So, I mean, all I'm going to say is that the Islanders, you phrased it so well at the beginning. They have to figure out what they are as a team. But I would tell you right now, the most important thing for them right now, fix your special teams. You don't have to be the best, but you can't be the worst. You can't be the worst on the PK in the league, especially with the goaltending they've had. And you can't be almost 20th in the league on the power play with some of the firepower that they have. You just can't be that.
I agree. Looking on that blue line, Pierre, a guy who, we have a lot of Montreal viewers right here always tuning in that they're familiar with, Alexander Romanov. What does he have to do to start getting back where maybe going back to the years when he was in Montreal, the future was looking really bright for him. What does he have to do to get on that straight path now?
I think the biggest thing for him, Jimmy, quite frankly, is get consistent. You get the puck in your stick, it's a simple decision. You go tape to tape, you rim it, or you put it off the glass and out. The foibles with the puck get him into trouble. The misreads down low, especially from the hash mark to the icing line, gets him into trouble. So it's just figuring out the game and just keeping it within the realm of, okay, I'm not going to get beat or I'm not going to make a glaring mistake on this shift. It's a hard game to play when you have to think about that all the time. But in his case, structure matters a lot, especially when he has the puck on the stick.
Get comfortable in that structure. Good point. All right. You know what, Pierre, we're going to roll through this because I want to save time for the Q&A. So that's what we look at the Islanders. I'm not going to ask you to say point blank if they're going to make the playoffs or not, but I think you'd agree with me that they're a bubble. Right? They're a bubble team.
They were a bubble last year and they had 94 points. They're a bubble. They're a bubble team. And like I said, if the special teams are like they were last year, I will say this because of the improvement I think Detroit will have, Ottawa will have, Montreal will have, Buffalo will have. Just those teams, the improvement they'll have, I don't see the Islanders making it if their special teams are the same.
Yeah, that's a good point. One more thing too, quick on going back to Patrick Roy. Pierre, I've always wanted to, when you have a goalie for a head coach, how can that help? Or how is it maybe a negative?
I will say this.
Is there a difference? Am I looking too much into it?
You might be, but I really respect Jerry Cheevers a lot. And I hope somebody in their Cheevers relativity gets him this tape. I learned a lot from Jerry when I was coaching in Hartford as an assistant and as a head coach. Jerry was our TV color commentator. He worked with the great Rick Peckham, who's a hockey Hall of Famer. And no, Cheesy was great. And you know what? If you were to look at it and ask the question, let's just say from 1970 to now. Okay, so we're talking 51 years, 52 years, whatever it is. Who's the best goalie that played that also coached? And I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not even going to ask you to think about it. I'm going to tell you it's Jerry Cheevers.
Yeah, it's got to be.
From now, somebody might say, well, what about Emil Francis with the Rangers? He wasn't a better goalie than Jerry Cheevers. Some people may say, well, what about Glenn Hanlon with the Washington Capitals? He's a good coach, but he wasn't a better coach or goalie than Jerry Cheevers. So, you can throw all these guys out that were former goalies. It's because most people take it for granted. But I'm telling you, that's one category where I'm pretty sure since 1970 that probably the best goalie who also happened to be a good coach, Jerry Cheevers.
Yep. I'm with you on that. And he's such a joy to talk to, too. I haven't seen him in a while. I'd say almost 2 years now, but I always love shooting the breeze with him. Good hockey guy. All right. Let's go to the Washington Capitals. I was just mentioning them. And one player that I was focused on, I'm sure a lot of people can guess, is Pierre-Luc Dubois. And we've discussed him. I think somebody had asked about him in the Q&A last week or the week before. And we're in complete agreement that, this is make or break for him in my eyes. How many chances is this guy going to be to live up to the potential, to deliver? You don't really see many teams trade away a player right after they sign him to a long-term extension like that. So he's, in my eyes, and I'm just going to be blunt, and I'm sure he's done it, I would hope, in the summer, but he needs to be looking in the mirror right now and saying, it's up to me. There's no more excuses. I need to deliver. I know I have it in me. I have the talent. Now it's time to put it into action on the ice.
So the key word for him is urgency. I agree with you, Jimmy. There's a reason why he went from Columbus to Winnipeg. There's a reason why he went from Winnipeg to Los Angeles. There's a reason why he went from Los Angeles to Washington. And I would say in all of those cases, because it's 4 teams now, urgency.
Yep.
Every day you need to be urgent, whether you're going to the rink for practice, whether you're going to the rink for a game. Every day when you get to the rink, you need to be urgent. And a lot of guys, when you talk, like Nathan McKinnon is urgent every day. Sidney Crosby is urgent every day. Patrice Bergeron, when he went to the rink, was urgent every day. Zdeno Chara, urgent every day. I would tell you that when Nick Suzuki goes to the rink in Montreal, he's urgent every day. Some guys get that principle. Other guys don't. We had Phil Bourque on yesterday. I thought he was great. Philip was
a fun interview.
I thought Phil was phenomenal. He was really, really good.
Yeah.
Every day he went to the rink, the old 2-9er was urgent because he knew if he wasn't, he was going to be playing the American Hockey League. Back then, our farm team was actually Muskegon in the old International League. So he had to be urgent every day. He didn't want to go back. He liked staying where he was. So the only advice I'd give Pierre-Luc Dubois is be urgent every day. They're laying it out there for him. If he wants to be the first or second center there, it's in his hands.
Play with Alexander Ovechkin in a potentially record-breaking situation.
It's there for him to do.
Yep. And Pierre, you look at, I heard you talking about him, I think it was last week on Melnick's show. You referenced a game late in the season where it was
Montreal Columbus on a Sunday afternoon. He took that game over like it was crazy. And I'm watching that and going, oh my gosh, this guy's going to be a superstar. It was unbelievable how good he was. And then I go and do one of his games and be like, that's not the same guy.
No.
It's not even close. It's there for him, but urgency is going to matter for him. For the Capitals, it's pretty simple. They're going to need goaltending. They're like most teams.
Yeah.
Spencer Carberry's going to have to coach as well as he did last year. And what he did last year was phenomenal. They're going to have to get a little help like they had last year. They got help because the Penguins and Detroit Red Wings melted down the stretch. Detroit was because of the injury to Larkin. Everybody knows it. Pittsburgh, it's because Sidney Crosby had to drag him into the battle every single night, and they didn't have enough guys pulling the rope. And after Gensel got traded, it was over for them, and they knew it. So they melted. So they got in. Washington got in because Carberry coached well. Detroit melted because of Larkin's injury, and Pittsburgh melted because just not enough guys pulled the rope. Yeah, I don't know if that'll happen again this year. I don't think it will.
Yeah. Here, I look at their goaltending, too. You just brought it up. They're going to need goaltending. They may have, and I'd have to do the research. I don't know. I'm guessing. I mean, I don't know any other goaltending tandem heading into the season right now at this discount. Charlie Lindgren making 1.1 and Logan Thompson making $766,667. That's got to be the cheapest tandem in the league. I'm willing to bet.
But you know what? That's why, you know how they say sometimes in school, don't judge a book by its cover?
Yeah,
I would say the same thing about the goalies in Washington. Don't judge the goalies by their salary, because both of those guys want a PPW. They want to prove people wrong.
exactly. They're both UFAs next year too.
Charlie's been good.
Yeah,
Okay? Charlie's been good. Logan was really good till he got hurt.
Yep.
So both those guys want a PPW, that's a dangerous thing when you got two guys like that. You know, we were talking about urgency before.
Yep.
The day those guys go to the rink, Jimmy, they're going to be urgent.
They are going to be urgent. I'm telling you, that could turn out. I mean, if all goes well for Washington, I think it would be because they maybe got the best bargain in the league between the pipes with those two guys. I'm with you. I mean, the skills there, they've shown it, and Logan Thompson's got a cup ring to prove it. So that's interesting there. But I look at their D, and there's some prove people wrong guys there. A guy that I think has just battled injuries throughout his career so far, Ethan Bear. He's healthy. You know, maybe he gets it together there. I look at Trevor Van Riemsdyk's a solid D-man. Rasmus Sandin, to me, is a key guy for them. Obviously, Jacob Chikrin, but Rasmus Sandin is an interesting guy for me there, Pierre, because I've seen flashes of brilliance with him, but not consistently enough.
No, that's fair. That's very fair with Rasmus. I'm not going to say that he was a straight analytic pick, but analytics played heavily.
Yeah.
Analytics played heavily in his selection.
Yeah.
What I will also say is that this is a hugely important year for Jacob Chikrin.
It's another UFA after the season.
Very important. It didn't go the way he wanted it to. And we've had Jeff on the show, his father. This is a big year for Jacob. He's got to go there, be a leader, play mature hockey, be the supporting guy for John Carlson, who's still their best defenseman. They traded away Jensen to Ottawa to get Chikrin down there. And so, the defense is I don't know the best way to describe it, but it's in transit, let's say. They're trying to figure out what it's going to be. Carlson's still their most important player in the back end. Most important.
I'm with you now. And of course, obviously the tough news we heard recently about TJ Oshie, likely done for the season. And then, who knows where career is done there. But, I know he hasn't exactly been the TJ Oshie of 10 years ago or even 5 years ago because of the injuries he's had, Pierre, but he was still such a voice in that dressing room. They're going to need other guys to step up in the leadership role.
He never takes shortcuts on the ice. That's a guy that really cares about playing and leading. TJ's, they'll miss him a lot. So for Washington, think about when they had their good teams and their real good power plays. Kuznetsov was there, Backstrom was there, and Oshie was there. Yep. Those are really important guys. Oshie's not there because of injury. Backstrom's not there because of injury. And Kuznetsov is a captain over in Russia playing in St. Petersburg with Demidov. So, it's unfortunate. I feel really bad for the ownership and the management there and the coaching staff because a lot of their problems, the roster was starting to get old, but also the injuries. The injuries really hurt that team. It really did.
They got right.
They did. They got really and to be fair, people will say, well, what about their scouting? It's funny. The Hershey Bears is their farm team. The last two Calder Cups, they've won both.
Oh, yeah.
In the American Hockey League. So it's not like they don't have players filtering through their organization. And here's the other thing. Ryan Leonard from Boston College chose not to turn pro this year. He went back to BC. I can assure you that next year,
once BC's knocked out,
season is over, he will be in Washington.
Oh, yeah. I'm with you on that. And let's not forget here. I'm sorry.
It'll make a difference.
Yeah, I agree. And Pierre, one other kid, a young player too, that I know we both like is Hendrix Lapierre. He's going to be a player. I love his.
Another example of really good scouting. Ross Mahoney and Bowman. They did Steve Bowman. They did a really good. That whole staff. They've done some good scouting there because they haven't had a lot of early picks. No, people forget that because they've been a good team for a long time. They broke through one year in 2018. but they've been a good team for a long time. And
Yeah.
you know, that power play has been so good for so long. It's really amazing. You know, it's just obviously you lose Backstrom, you lose Kuznetsov, now you lose Oshie. It's not going to be the same. It won't be the same.
Well, we're both in agreement now too, and feel free to ask us more questions about them in the Q&A later. But we're both in agreement. Pierre, this is another team like the Islanders. Some other teams are getting better. They're kind of still in that middle pack to me right now, and it's going to be tough. They're in tough to make it, I think.
Yeah, no, that's more than fair. You're not being mean to them or disingenuous. You're just laying it the way it is, and I agree with you. They've got to have a lot of things go right. They got to have health, a lot of health. They have to have goaltending from their 1A, 1B. With Lindgren obviously being really important for them, and Logan coming over from Vegas, so they need those guys. Thompson, but I would say the number one thing, and I know everybody's talking about Ovechkin and he's going to get more goals and Gretzky and all that. That's great, but Ovi would tell you right now, knowing him, he wants to be in the playoffs and have a shot to win the cup. He does. So how they're going to do that? It's got to be like the lottery. When you get in the playoffs, it's like a ticket for the lottery. Anyone can win it. You got to be in it to win it. So the key for them is getting in. After that, who knows? And it's going to be a battle. It's going to be a battle for them to get in. It's going to be a battle.
On that note, good segue to finalize our Capitals discussion here. Ovi, can he break the record? But furthermore, if things go south and he knows he's not going to be able to, and he knows they're not going to make the playoffs, could he ever end up on another team, Pierre? You ever think?
I can't see that. I can't. The only other team I could see him going to would be a team in Russia. I can't. Doing what Yager did, because he's got the passion to play. But I can't. I don't see.
I know.
That.
I can't see him in another uniform. It's so hard.
It's like Sid. Think about this. When Messier left, and this is one that I think is really important. When Messier got traded out of Vancouver. When he got traded out of Edmonton to New York.
Yep.
It was like a natural fit. It worked. Okay, it worked. But when he went to Vancouver,
no,
that didn't work. It just was weirdo. It just didn't work. It's like when Gretz went from Edmonton to LA, that worked.
But after
it worked. It did, because he was kind of like the savior coming in to rebuild something. They go to the 93 final and they have a lot of success and things are good. He's fixing hockey. But after he left LA, that was not good.
Yeah.
It just wasn't good. And I look at, for Ovi, I'd be shocked if it would be good if he went anywhere else but Washington. But you never know.
And, as we're talking about Ovi, and you mentioned Sid there too, I mean, how blessed were we to just have that duo come into the league after that lockout and help propel the NHL back into the national sports scene in North America. And they really did so much for the league. It's amazing.
Well, I'll take you inside baseball on this one. Back in 2005, in the summer of 2005, right after Crosby got drafted, the NHL had a meeting in Whistler for their top advertising people. And they asked me to come out and speak at it. So I did. And had a blast, by the way. They were really gracious, the companies that were there. And part of my presentation was why the NHL is going to rebound. And a big part of my presentation was, well, there's this kid from Moscow named Alexander Ovechkin, and there's another kid named Sidney Crosby from Cole Harbour, Nova Scotia.
Beautiful.
And they're two totally different people, but this is like Larry Bird and Magic Johnson.
Yeah.
This is like Larry Bird and Michael Jordan. This is like Michael Jordan and Isaiah Thomas. These are guys that resuscitated the NBA. And these are two guys that after Lemieux and Gretzky are done, and they were done pretty much. Yep. These are the guys that are going to inherit the mantle. And the presentation was about that. And, what is that, almost 20 years ago? And I still remember it to this day. And it was the way I ended it is, I know you're all financial people and you all understand this. If the NHL was a stock, I would buy it because it's low now, but it's about to go high. So to put it into perspective, when Commissioner Bettman came into the league in 1993-94, the NHL was a $500 million a year business. It was. Now it's over $5.6 billion.
Wow.
So
it's amazing.
Those guys, those two that you brought up, are really important figures in the history of the National Hockey League.
Yeah, for sure. It's amazing. I mean, I just remember
it's not enough as being made about how special they were, both of them for the league. Both of them.
Yeah. It's just, you think back to those are some dark times, Pierre. The 03-04 season when a lot of people inside the game like yourself knew what was coming. And then when it actually happened, and you're looking at like, how is hockey going to recover from this? But they did, thanks to them. And it was it's been
what? The league got their head out of the sand and said, you know what, the way the game is being played right now doesn't work. So we've got to find a way to be relevant as an athletic commodity. So they put together all these think tanks and panels, and they came up with different things. And one of the big things was getting the red line out.
Yeah.
And that allowed the skill and the speed and the finesse and, putting in the trapezoid so people couldn't play as much dump and chase and goalies couldn't go out and handle it all over the place. There were a lot of things that were subtly good. But this is another important one on that because, you talk about coming out of that. This is the one stat that everybody needs to remember. When Calgary and Tampa played a Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final in 2004. Okay? If you got the lead in a game, so if you were up 1-0, you never lost. There was never any lead change in 7 games of a Stanley Cup Final because it was tackle football on ice.
Yep.
That you can't debate that because that's a natural fact. It's a stat.
It was clogged up. It really was.
It was just crazy. And so the league realized we can't keep doing this. And, it changed.
Yep. And those two players were the perfect fit for what they were trying to do, sure.
Very good. Very good.
All right. Let's go to the Carolina Hurricanes. And now this is a team, Pierre, that we don't think that we don't definitely think they're gonna miss the playoffs. But I think you and I, compared to a lot of other pundits and people around the league, think there's more of a chance than they do. It seems like everybody is still very high in this team. I see a lot of people picking them as a cup finalist, a lot of people picking them as a conference finalist. And I don't know. I don't see. I'm not saying it can't happen, but they lost some key players, and the guy I look at the most is Brett Pesce. Like he was a key part of what we've seen with this team over the last 5 years, 7 years even. Like he was a big part of them on and off the ice. There's a lot of things that are. You talked about a team being in flux with the last two teams we discussed. I don't know how much in flux they are, but they're starting to get to that point. But also on the flip side, on the positive side, Pierre, when I look at Carolina, even if this is more of a down year than maybe a lot of people are expecting or they hope for, they do have some guys coming. So I still think the future, out of all 3 teams, I see a lot of great prospects coming for Carolina.
They had 111 points last year, Jimmy. They were first in the league on the penalty kill, and they were second in the league on the power play. Mm-hmm. So their special teams are rock solid.
Amazing.
Jordan Staal is a tremendous captain. Seth Jarvis was a really good extension done by Eric Tulsky. Really good extension. Yep. They needed to get that done. They got it done. And it's not at a crazy number where you say he'll never be able to measure up to. He'll measure up just fine.
Right.
Your point about Pesce's spot on. They also are going to miss Brady Shea, who went to Nashville. And to me, and this is an important one. I know people choose not to like him. Tony DeAngelo still played serviceable minutes there. And he's playing over in St. Petersburg now, signed a 1-year deal. But they're going to miss him too. And that's not to take anything away, and this is an important player for them down the road, is Scott Morrow. Mm-hmm. Not to take anything away from Scotty, who's one of their top prospects. I mean, he's a really, really good prospect. But the kid coming out of UMass Amherst, I mean, is he going to be the number 1 guy? I don't think so. Not right away.
No.
Coming though, in a year, I would say another guy from St. Petersburg is a 6'4", 220-pound defenseman, Alexander Nikishin. And Nikishin, so it's not for this year, but down the road, they're going to be okay again.
Right.
The problem is that there's omissions this year.
Yep.
I don't know if they're going to be as good as they were. Now, keeping Natchez was good for them. Obviously, Aho's a star, but there's stuff going on there where they have to. This is not going to be. I will say this: they had a plus 66 goal differential last year.
Mhm.
I don't think it'll be as good this year.
I'm with you on that. I look at them, Pierre, in a similar position to the Boston Bruins the last few years, where like people are just sort of waiting for them to fall a bit, waiting and wait, but they keep making the playoffs. They keep having these outstanding regular seasons. I think Carolina I don't know if they will. I think they have the ability to do that because of a lot of what you just said, and also because of their coach. If they make the playoffs and they make a run again, to me, it's going to be because of Rod Brindamore, because he's that good of a coach that he can compensate for some of the losses they had on the roster.
They are the most underappreciated coaching staff in the league. Jeff Daniels, a kid that I coached in Pittsburgh, and he was a mini Bob Gainey. I'm telling you, cerebral, smart, really intelligent checking winger. And Tim Gleason, I covered so many of his games. American kid that played major junior hockey in the Ontario Hockey League with Windsor, is where I remember him the most. He's really undervalued coaching the defense. They got a really, really good coaching staff there, Jimmy. It might be one of the best. I think the Vancouver staff is unbelievable. I think the staff in Carolina is right up there with them, really up there with them.
I'm with you on that. And Pierre, like, that's why I look at it like this. There's some staffs that can't, like, people say, oh, well, coaches don't matter as much today in today's game. And I totally disagree. And I think this staff could prove that wrong again and be a perfect example of that.
So if coaches don't matter so much, how come so many of them get fired?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, coaches don't matter.
It's true. You know, one thing though, too, big change up top in hockey ops too. Tulski comes in. So it's not that he wasn't there before. I know he's still a familiar face, but it's still a change. How much does that affect him? We've talked about what his specialty is, Pierre. Do we expect analytics to still be the main ingredient there as they go forward?
We're not going to know until we get to probably the trade deadline.
Mm-hmm.
We'll have a real good idea. I think once they get to the trade deadline, you know, you'll see if they make any acquisitions, if they do anything. I personally think you got to give everybody a chance. I think it's really important when they're involved with a team. Don't prejudge. I've always been a believer. Don't prejudge, because a lot of times, guys, especially in the media, we all prejudge, and it's not fair. It's just not fair, because let the guy have at least a year or two, and I think probably 2 is better gauge, even though he's been there for a while, before you just say, hey, he can't do the job. You know, that's just – it makes no sense. So
no, Pierre, I learned long ago on that.
I think he gets an opportunity. I'll be cheering for him because I like Brindamore so much. I really like Jeff Daniels, and I respect Gleason a lot. Yeah. So, and you know, Jordan, to me, I know I'm getting long-winded, and I'm going to get emotional. I've known Jordan Stahl a long time. He's been through a lot, and he's a special person. Jordan's a really special kid, and he's the last of the Stahl brothers playing. You know, Eric's working for the Rangers. Mark's working for the Rangers. Eric, I don't know if he's working right now, but he should be working in Carolina. He really should be. He's a hurricane in my eye. You know, he won the Stanley Cup there. So, anyways, long story short, Jordan's a great cat. I mean, I want only the best for Jordan Stahl. I really do. You don't really cheer for tons of guys around the league, but he's one guy I'll always cheer for.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. There are some guys you make an exception for. And like you said, if you prejudge, you're going to eat a lot of crow. That's it. Yeah. I've learned that the hard way before. So all right.
Carolina, Jimmy, if Jersey and New York start to run away with it in you know, the Metro, I don't know how Pittsburgh's going to be. I think you agree with me. No, Pittsburgh, nobody knows.
No.
Philly, Washington, you kind of think they'll take a step, but you don't know. They could fall back.
Yeah.
You know, so that it's hard. If 2 teams run away with it, which they could, it becomes really interesting.
And the goaltending too is something we got to watch there in Carolina.
Well, I haven't. So,
but we've said that so many times, and somehow they pull through. I'm just but with a different defense in front of them.
Could Kochetkov be the guy that really delivers it? I don't know. We haven't seen it yet. I don't know.
We're going to have to find out now. We'll see. All right. Before we get to our Q&A, I want to mention our wonderful sponsors. And I actually saw in the comments section, I don't know if Shane can find it. I think it was Mr. Smith had it, talking about a Betway parlay he's got. There you go. See, you can go to Betway, our sponsor. We love having on board here at the Eye Test, and you can do a parlay. And if you're a Canadians fan, that's kind of a tempting one right there. Lane Hudson getting the Calder, Patrick Laine getting the Mountain, and the Habs make the playoffs. Bingo. What do you think? I say, why not? Throw $5. Throw a little something down. You never know. I'm sure you're going to get great value on that, like you get great value on everything at Betway. Let's pull it up right there. They are your leading global online betting and gaming brand. And when you go over there, like we always say, follow your gut instinct with Betway. Go to betway.com and scan that QR code right in front of you if you're watching right now and join the action. You must be 18 and you need to play responsibly. Also, our wonderful friends at Homage, not Homage, Homage. I've been pronouncing it wrong and I apologize to them. They specialize in ultra comfy, high quality looks, repping sports, pop culture, and legendary moments. Learn more about Homage with the link in the description. And look, I've said it. They've got the comfiest t-shirts and sweatshirts I've had in a while. So check them out there. Some great designs, old school stuff. If you're around Pierre's age or my age, or maybe even
good job, Jimmy.
That's a compliment. You're not ancient. You're just old school.
That was good. That's good.
And I'm sure I saw a T-shirt there, Pierre. I'm sure you'd appreciate it. It was Belushi in Animal House, which is still one of my favorites. My dad introduced me to
it. Still lives on. You know, we just lost the great Donald Sutherland, who was a star in that movie. He was the professor. One of the great. The Vancouver Olympics. We were hallmates. I was on one side of the hall. He was on the other. We were in the same hotel because he was working for CTV like I was in 2010. Okay. So it was really cool. So the nightcaps would always be downstairs, and Donald was really cool. It was fun to spend some time with him.
He seemed like a guy I'd like to throw a couple back with at the pub and just listen to him talk.
You know what his passion really was? It was crazy. He loved the Montreal Expos.
Yes.
He loved the Montreal Expos. Yep.
Yeah. That was good stuff. So, yeah, check them out. And, of course, check out our other ones, Manta Sleep, who continue to help me get some good shut-eye because they have the only mask designed and optimized for deepest possible sleep in any environment, 100% blackout for deeper sleep, infinitely adjustable and personalized fit. Absolute comfort. Visit mantasleep.ca and don't forget to use that code SICKET, that's SICKET, for 10% off. All right, let's get to that Q&A. What do we got? Alex Ovechkin, Fabian Lysell had a great game last night. What's going on with him and his development? Had a nice shot last night. Yep, you're right off the iron there. Is he developing as expected, and what is his ceiling? Alex, I'd say no. I don't think he's developed as expected, but I think he knows it's time. It's now or never for him and the Bruins organization. I know that might sound a little extreme, but that's just the feel I got. What I did like was last night after the game, they were asking what was the difference between last night and the first preseason game he had. And he said he had a wonderful conversation with Ryan Mungenal, the coach of the Providence Bruins, who called him up out of the blue on Monday because he knew he needed a little encouragement, needed a little pep talk, and it helped. And so from what I've heard, ever since Ryan called him out, Pierre, remember that last year? It was like somewhere in February. Ever since he called him out, he's responded, and he's taken to what his coach has to say, and he's tried his best to apply those lessons on the ice, which I saw him do last night. So I think that's a great sign for him to make the team, or at least have a good shot into this season somewhere to make it.
See, Jimmy, old school works.
It does. It does. I really like that. I thought there was when he made a point to tell the media that too as well. So it really must have had an imprint on him. So good job by them. All right, next question. John Smith, aloha. I think of Ted Nolan sometimes, and how he never really got another shot to come back to the NHL. Can you give an example of someone else you felt should have gotten another go around? Pierre, I'll let you take this one.
I thought Teddy got another shot in Buffalo. You know, he was in Hartford. He was in Carolina. I thought he got another shot in Buffalo. In fact, I remember meeting he and Brian Trottier right after the trade deadline. I was going to do a Buffalo-Tampa game in Tampa. And, yeah, no, it was tough because there were some issues internally that they were having a hard time with at the time. But, you know, there have been a lot of coaches that really have never, once they've had one chance, that's about it. I can think of a lot of guys. I mean, I don't want to embarrass anybody because most coaches, that make it to that level, they don't whine. They're not going to complain about, oh, this guy did this to me or that guy did that to me or this scout didn't do this or that assistant, you know. So I'm not into the finger pointing thing, but it's happened. Yeah. There have been a lot of guys that have been really good coaches. One guy that I'll say was a really good player and unbelievable hockey sense, and who I really respect a ton still is Stevie Kasper.
Oh, yeah.
Stevie Kasper got put in a really tough situation, but I always had a ton of respect for him. You know, every time you meet him on the road, he'd treat you well and share information. He's a really good person. I'm a big fan of him, big fan.
Yeah. What's he doing now, Pierre? Do you know?
He's working as an agent.
Okay. Yeah, he was a scout for a while because he used to sit next to me sometimes in the press. I remember he was with the Leafs for a bit. Pierre, he covered, we referenced the great one earlier. You can ask Wayne Gretzky. He did. Oh, yeah. He didn't always win, but he was a pain in the neck to Wayne Gretzky at times. He covered him pretty good.
The Edmonton stuff was Kasper was a big part of it. Yep.
And then guess who went out and acquired him? Edmonton. Yeah, we'll get him off Gretzky's back. We'll make him a teammate.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, next question. Alex Ovechkin, out of the Islanders, Capitals, and Penguins, who is in a better shape long term? It's very tough because I see real rebuilds all coming sooner rather than later. I say Washington, more younger players. 100% agree, Alex. Alex knows his stuff.
Totally agree, Alex. You're spot on.
Yep, totally. All right, next question. Real deal prime. Word on the street is the Sabres are expecting to be one of the league's top scoring teams. Question, Austin Matthews, what's he do for an encore? How many goals does he get this season? First off, with the Sabres, I mean, I do think their offense improves. I don't know about top 5. I could see him maybe cracking the top 10, Pierre. I don't know about you. And as for Matthews, the sky's the limit with that guy to me. It really is. And for people who say that C is going to weigh heavily on him and may affect his game, I disagree. I think it's going to improve it. I think taking on that responsibility makes him want it even more.
With Buffalo, I'm going to take a wait and see, even though I really like what Lindy Ruff is doing with his group right now. Mm-hmm. We'll know the kind of team they're going to be after the coaching change within 12 to 15 games. So I'm going to wait on that. In terms of Austin, I'm going to say he should be 55 to 65 goals. Unless he gets hurt, I don't see how he's not.
Yeah. And I love that, you know, I remember when he got the C earlier in the summer, I saw a lot of Leafs fans, wait, he's not ready for this, whatever. I have so much praise, Pierre, from everything I've heard, both in the media and then just talking to people with inside knowledge, what John Tavares did in that whole situation and what he's continued to do to help Austin and let him know that he's there. Just showed so much class on Tavares' part.
I don't know. Like I hear people say this all the time. Well, he's not ready. How do you know he's not ready to be the captain? Are you in the dressing room? Are you on the bench? Are you on the planes? I read this, you know, just again for people out there. I send Jimmy notes sometimes. I'm like, who is this person? I've been in for 35 years. Who is this person? I don't know who it is. And I'm reading that they don't think that this player is any good or that player is any good or this coach thinks. And I'm like, how do they know? Like, where have they been?
So welcome to the hot take world, Pierre. That's what this is, you know. To me, it's a cold take, if you ask me. But anyhow, all right, next question. Question for Pierre. Has the Hall of Fame thought about having a 10-year window for a player to get in? It remove a lot of speculation of who is being considered. Baseball has something similar. And that's from Max Hart.
Yeah, thanks, Max. All right. I don't really want to talk about Hall of Fame stuff.
Yeah, just because Pierre's on the committee, so it's tough, guys, for him to comment on that. All right, next question. Alex Ovechkin again. I was thinking about this. In 5 years, who are the true top contenders in the league? I say Montreal, Detroit, Columbus, New Jersey, Buffalo, Ottawa in the East, Chicago, San Jose, Anaheim, and Utah in the West.
What's the one thing they all have in common, Jimmy?
A ton of prospects.
Ton of picks in the first 5 because they were so bad for so long. So,
Yep.
Alex, I really respect how good you are as a hockey man.
Who knows?
That's not really a hard one.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, sooner or later, these picks got to come to fruition, right? And I think you're right, Alex. They're right there. They're bubbling through. So they're going to be fun teams to watch. By the way, just want to give a shout out too, because I sat next to her a lot in the press box. She's a great up and coming young reporter, Pierre. I think I've told you about her. She's a BU alum, Belle Fraser. She's now the beat reporter for the Salt Lake City Tribune, covering the Utah Hockey Club. We don't know if it's the Yeti yet, but Hockey Club. And she's doing a great job out there. And Pierre, I've been watching some of those games, not just I've been just watching them full. The buzz there is awesome. I sent you something too today. I don't know if you got it because I know you've been driving, but check it out. Just about Salt Lake City becoming a booming sports team right now. So they're going to be a lot of fun to watch. That's going to be a tough place to go into for visitors. I'm telling you.
I agree with that. I agree. We should get Belle on so she could talk about what's going on out there. I agree with we've pretty much been locked solid on that together on Utah, thinking that they're going to cause some problems. The Sergachev acquisition obviously makes a big deal. They were really active in free agency. They kept the coaching staff, and I think that was really important for them. I think Torrington is a really good coach. And so they've got a chance. They've got a chance. The problem is, Anaheim, I think is going to be a lot better. Edmonton's still good. Vancouver's still good. Dallas is still good. Colorado's still good. Vegas is still good. Tough neighborhood. Neighborhood.
I'm going to tell you right too. Check out
Nashville. Nashville's good. So tough neighborhood.
We're in a tough neighborhood. I'm going to have a story, speaking of Anaheim, on Greg Cronin on rg.org in a couple days. So check that out. All right, next question. Pizza 603. Does that mean you're in New Hampshire? Pizza 603? That's New Hampshire area code, Pierre. Wonder if he's in my neck of the woods here. With the emergence of Kapanen and other young Canadians, do you think they trade Dvorak, Armia, etc. before the season?
No, so people have to understand Dvorak's contract's not going to be easy to move. You just, so I get it. You play fantasy league at home, and those are easy contracts to move. But in real life, you can't move Armia. They tried to trade Armia 3 years ago. They tried to trade Armia 2 years ago. Those are hard guys to move. And I think a lot of Kapanen's had a tremendous start to camp. He has. He deserved the scouting staff in Montreal, whether it was Trevor Timmons or now with Nikolai Bobrovsky. Nicky Bobroff. Yep. They deserve a lot of credit. Right. They've done some good job. Now, some really good picks, but I don't know if they'll be able. I doubt they'll be able to move those contracts. I'd be really surprised.
It's going to be tough. And so that way, you know what? If I don't want to use the word stuck, but if they're going to remain in Montreal, you make the best of it. And I think there's potential in those players to still play pivotal roles in the bottom of that lineup. So we'll see. All right, next question. Vincent Yoel. Hello, gentlemen. Yesterday I asked about the best players outside the NHL. Today I want to ask, what do you think has the best coaches and support staff? Would that be college hockey? Pierre, I'll let you take that.
Well, no, but I think, the NHL coaches are still the best. Is that where we're going? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I Vincent, no, I think I just want you to explain, get a little more specific what you mean there on the question.
The NHL is still the best league in the world, and the coaches are still the best in that league, and the trainers are the best in that league, and the way the professionalism in the league is off the chart. It's never been this professional. Everything is just buttoned up. It's amazing. The NHL is such a first-class league, and I know some people like to pick on it. It's amazingly well run. By the people at the league office, by the teams, by the man. Sure, there's some teams that aren't as good as others. I get it.
Of course.
I get it. It's marketplace. It's dollar values. Take a look at what the Canadian dollar is worth versus the U.S. You'll understand what I'm talking about. So it's, there's a lot of things, but this league's really well run. It's really well run.
And I'd say, Pierre, I don't know if this is where Vincent was going with the question, but I was, in terms of where the good coaches are coming from now, whether it's college or juniors or what have you, I think we both agree you're seeing a lot more, and we're going to see even more from the college game in the next 5 years.
The colleges are doing a really good job.
And outside the NHL. So I keep my eye on college.
The colleges are doing an amazing job developing coaches. Yep. They're doing an amazing job. And the one thing I'd say about college coaches is that they're not afraid to be mentored. Mm-hmm. And, I talked to 2 veteran coaches who are no longer coaching now. One of them is closer to 80 and the other one's 70. Today, when I was driving up here, they still mentor guys. They still talk to coaches all the time. I mean, you know how much I talk to different guys around hockey at the college level. Guys want to be mentored. They want help, and they're not afraid to ask. And I think that's part of why there's a progression with what they do.
And Pierre's said it on air and off air. I mean, there's a lot of coaches he knows in college that have had a chance to make the jump and haven't yet. But that chance will still be there, maybe even a bigger chance as they go on. So we will see.
Pick the right team. It's really important to pick the right team.
There you go. All right, next question, because we got to get out. We'll finish it up and we're out.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. It looks like we're done. There we are.
Jimmy, just if Shane, you text Shane and tell him if there are more questions, we will get to them tomorrow. But I just want to give a little shout out here. I want Sarah Stanton and all the good people with the Friendship 4 and what they're doing to try to get us over there. And we are going over there for Thanksgiving week. But this morning, before I came to Canada, I had a big breakfast in Boston with the Belfast Giants and their great general manager, Stevie Thornton, who is an amazing player at Boston University. Robert Fitzpatrick, his passion for hockey is amazing. And Martin McDowell. These men care so much about growing the game. They want to use hockey as a vehicle to increase everything in society and make it better. I was blown away by how passionate and intense they were in a good way. And that's a breakfast I won't forget for a very long time. I really enjoyed it a lot. So to Steve, Robert, and Martin, thank you very much for having me this morning. I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, we're excited to be part of that. To all of them, I appreciate it as well. Thanks to you, Pierre. Thanks to our producer, Shane, who I know is going to run right now. And thanks, of course, to you, the viewers and listeners. We will talk to you tomorrow, previewing the New York Rangers and New Jersey Devils here in the Eye Test on the Sick Podcast Network.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Eye Test with Pierre McGuire and Jimmy Murphy on YouTube, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.